Hello and welcome. I've given up on saying what episode number it is because I can't fucking remember. And there's no guarantee they're going to go up in order, which is frustrating when you've been saying this is episode 10 and it might go up at like the 8th episode. But we are back for another episode and I'm joined by an absolute legend today in Lewis Potts, and I'll get you to introduce yourself shortly. But we always kick off by cheersing the Mojito or the Nojito if you're not drinking alcohol. So
There you
cheers
go,
to
mate.
that.
Cheers.
Mine is alcoholic. It is 10 a.m.
Mine is a white monster with mint and lime in it because I couldn't find a Nojito.
Which actually, to be fair, sounds
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's actually really good.
Annoyingly, I've got White Monster in the fridge. I could easily have done the same, but I've started my Thursday the way I intend to carry on with a ridiculously strong mojito.
Mate, I respect you for it. It's good.
I need to get better at time management, which is never going to happen with ADHD. But the trait seems to be that I end up rushing to make the mojito before jumping on the podcast, which means I don't pay attention to how much rum's going in, and they get stronger every time. I'm certain of it.
Oh well, what are you going to do, mate? It's part of the brand now. You know what? You've got yourself into this situation where you just can't back down. It's
Exactly.
You've
just got to embrace it. And
exactly.
when I'm sort of roaming the streets, homeless at the age of 57 with an alcohol addiction, we can all look back and laugh.
At least you'll have some decent episodes out on Spotify for people to refer back to.
Mate, 100%. So, well, let's kick off and tell everybody about yourself, who you are, where they can find you, and a little bit of a backstory.
Yeah, man. So Lewis Potts, as you've said, where you can find me is really, really simple. It's Lewis Potts Official on Instagram, only because somebody's actually got, I don't think that I'm anything big, but there's somebody that's already got Lewis Potts and he's a videographer and his stuff's like mint. He's like putting out YouTube content and stuff like that, loads of followers. And I'm like, yeah, I'm never getting that handle. So Lewis Potts on Instagram. Little bit of a backstory. So I'll kind of give you the whistle stop tour and just stop me if you want to. So basically I spent the majority of my adult life, like not overweight, like obese, like 150 odd kilos. I was also playing high level sport at the time, playing high level American football. I can see you've got the Cowboys and the Giants helmets behind you there. I've already been having a look. So yeah, I played high level American football. I was living in Australia. I then, whilst I was in Australia, I found out that I'd got this heart condition that I've been born with. I'm really rattling through this, by the way. Then I moved back to England, had a bit of a breakdown at a festival, realized that I needed to lose all of my weight, lost all of my weight, got into coaching, working for somebody else. So got into coaching completely by accident, completely got obsessed with it, coached for quite a while, had my own business for quite a while, achieving loads of like incredible results with people. And then at the time I was working inside a mentorship, and a load of the coaches inside the mentorship were also noticing the sort of work that I was doing with people, a lot of it very heavily based in mindset, behavior change, rather than the calories in the training and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The people inside there were pecking my head to basically like upskill them, give them some of the tips and the tools and the techniques that I was using. So I eventually went balls deep on that, stopped coaching completely, and that's what I do now. I help coaches upskill their knowledge and get better at behavior change and the actual coaching element of the service and all that sort of stuff. So that is, I think, the shortest that I've ever managed to do that.
Mate, I love it. What a whistle stop tour. And there's so much that we're gonna unpack and get into. But a big part of wanting you to get to get you on the podcast is what you're doing at the moment, because and I've had similar conversations in previous episodes with people. I think the industry seems to be slowly changing in a positive direction, and people are starting to recognize that getting in shape, being a coach and working with people isn't what it was 10, 15 years ago of giving somebody a PDF training plan, or an Excel spreadsheet training plan and a meal plan and being like, yeah, cool, I'll see you next time. Or just getting people.
I would say I agree,
Yeah. And I think that there's probably, because of the emergence of online coaching as well, there's that big shift away from PTing being a case of trying to make people throw up in the gym, because again, I think back to when I first had PTs in my early 20s, and that seemed to be the trend. If I had a PT session, it was like they were on a one-man mission to make me throw up, and you kind of you pay for the luxury of it. And that was what a PT was like. The amount of times when I first got into coaching myself, people would say, oh, I don't want like a drill sergeant, I don't need somebody screaming at me. And I'm like, well, I don't do that. I'm like, oh, I thought that's what PTs were. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can see why. But but that understanding behavior change and some of the mechanics behind why people end up in a situation where they need to make change, but also helping to tap into the that mindset side of things, the mental aspect, so that you're not just getting people a good before and after photo that in 2-3 years time they're going to be back at square one. It's about creating those lifetime long-term behavior changes, because that's the stuff that stands the test of time. And we'll go into this in loads of detail, I'm sure, but one of my biggest gripes that I have as being a coach is when people say, oh, why don't you post before and afters? And I'm like, well, because actually some of the biggest change that I make with my clients is psychological. And you can't get that in a photo. What do you want me to get a picture of somebody who looks really sad and then get a picture of them looking really happy and be like, I did that? Like, it's an impossible commodity to demonstrate in a before and after, but it's actually, in my opinion, it's the most powerful change you can help somebody make, is improving their self-belief, improving their behavior patterns, their habits, their routines, and their overall thought process, so that the changes that they make, the progress that they achieve, is statistically way more likely to actually last, rather than being a bit of a flash in a pan. Here's a 12-week program, go and get me a decent before and after photo so I can have a dick swinging contest with the other coaches about who's better.
No, I do agree. The before and after is an interesting topic. I bear in mind my business was called Body and Brain. I worked with people, I tracked everything inside of my business. The average person that came to me, average weight was 132 kilograms. So the sorts of people that I was working with were people that you wouldn't normally see in before and afters. Okay. It was the people that had never really got any experience with the gym. They've got a seriously destructive relationship with food and themselves. But still, I did use before and afters. Like, my stance on before and afters is interesting. I still do argue with Oshin about this pretty much every time we see each other. Every time we see each other, we have this conversation, because he's very much of the mind of, oh, I don't use them. But the thing about before and afters for me is, you are completely right. You can't portray the identity change in a before and after. You cannot portray what has gone on behind closed doors. But my stance was, if you are helping people lose fat, the best way that you can demonstrate that is a before and after. Now, they weren't the only piece of social proof that I posted. I would also post video testimonials. I would also post interviews. I would also post carousels. But for the people like myself, when I was 152 kilos and looking for a coach, the reason that I signed up with the coach that I did is because I saw a before and after, and the guy in the before looked like me. So I think before and afters can be, if they're utilized properly, really, really powerful. And I know for sure, I've worked with 3 coaches now. One on relationship with food, who obviously didn't use before and afters, and 2, one on my weight loss before my surgery, and then one that I'm working with now on the body change, on the muscle build and stuff like that. Those 2 coaches, where my main outcome was body change, there is 0 fucking chance on earth I would have signed up with coaches that couldn't demonstrate that they were getting the job that I wanted to be done. So I think it's a really interesting topic.
And I completely agree. And I think, like with everything, there's definitely a time and a place for it. I find I don't post before and afters. But again, my ethos is about long-term behavior change. It's about actually changing somebody's life, their lifestyle, their habits, their behaviors, and the fat loss is a byproduct of that work. What I also find from a coaching perspective, so I'd love to get your take on this. Oshin and I spoke about this as well on the episode that he was on, is I always find as a coach, if I'm picking before and afters to post, and this is a big reason why I don't do it, I almost find that there's a big risk that it empowers the person that you select and demotivates the people that you don't select. Because I know, and I've had conversations like this with clients previously when they've asked, why don't I share any before and afters? And I said, well, put it this way, if I showed 3 or 4 before and afters and yours wasn't one of them, how would it make you feel? And every time they're like, yeah, I probably wouldn't feel too great. And I'm like, right, well, that's exactly why, because everybody's making progress at their own pace, and people do enough comparing to a highlight reel on social media as it is, without me potentially alienating some clients and making them feel like their progress isn't good enough just because somebody else is doing something different that's yielding great results for them. So I take the stance of, I don't show any. If my clients want to share their progress and they want to tag me, I'll reshare it, not a problem at all, but I will never be the one to post it first, because I always find, again, it's very easy to manipulate. I've got clients that I've worked with for a long time, well over 12 months, and I could definitely pick a before and an after. And there's nothing stopping me saying this is 12 weeks just to get people through the door.
Yeah.
But and I think these are some of the challenges that I see with before and after. So I just kind of distance and go, do you know what? My ethos, my approach is more the mindset. It's more about long-term change. It's about behavior change. So that I just, if people say, where's your before and afters, it gets really hard to show a psychological change in somebody in a photo from that perspective. But I do completely agree.
Shall we continue to dive into this? Because I think you've just said some really interesting things. Yeah. So the first thing that I picked up on was, like you said, there is nothing stopping you saying it was 12 weeks. But what I would say to that is there are people in the industry that don't have integrity. Yeah. There are people in the industry that are intentionally misleading people. Yeah. But does that mean that I'm going to alter my behavior based on what they're doing? Absolutely not. Like, I know that something that I was big on with my clients was expectation management. And again, if I'm taking people in at 132 kilos average weight, I'm telling them before they've even signed up, look, this is probably going to take you 18 months. This is probably going to take you 2 years. So there's no way on the back end that I'm slapping 12. This was done in 12 weeks because obviously 40 kilos weight loss has not been done in 12 weeks. Right. Yeah. The second thing that I find interesting is you absolutely weight loss doesn't show behavior change. It doesn't show the mindset change, but it does show behavior change. And I'm not talking about 10 kilos off of somebody that's already in decent shape to get into photo shoot shape. I'm talking about people that are 130 odd kilos down to 190. Like, I don't think anybody could rightfully look at those photos and go, yeah, they've not also had a big shift in their identity. So like, I do think there's like connotations of that. But the thing that you mentioned first about disempowering other clients, I love this topic of comparison because there's so many buzzwords out there, so many phrases, right? Comparison is the thief of all joy. I'm like, is it fuck? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, the comparison isn't the thief of all joy. People are comparing the wrong fucking things. So your client that's been with you for 3 months, if they're disempowered by a before and after that you've posted of somebody that's been with you 18 months and has now left the service, it's not even the same sport, never mind about the same like game. Like it's a completely different thing. And there was, I don't know what book it is, and I'm going to butcher this. Maybe it was Jimmy Carr's, I can't remember, where he was talking about people compare themselves to, again, the highlight reel, but don't take into account everything that person has been through to get there. Like, people would always take the dream without the graft. Okay. So I did have clients that were like, why have you not posted my before and after? I was like, well, this client has finished first and foremost. You're not finished. So it wouldn't be a before and after. It'd be a before and during, which is a completely different thing. And actually they've been with me however many months. And this is what they've been through. And I say this, the reason I do what I do now, and actually one of the most impactful talks where we met at IFS last year for me was Mike Chadwick's. It was talking about why you do what you do and how incredibly powerful that is. And why I do what I do is because I've been 150 odd kilos on the receiving end of terrible coaching and feeling like I was the issue, like I was broken, like I was unfixable, until I started to get into this mindset thing. And that's why I do it, ultimately what I do now. So I say this with love and loving people. If people get triggered that you're not posting their before and after, that's an insecurity on them. Yeah. That's they're maybe not taking complete responsibility for their behaviors. Maybe they're not making the progress that they'd like. And maybe that, and this is why I do what I do now, because my job now is to help coaches figure out what that is. Like, what's in that gap? What is it? Is it an adherence thing? Is it an identity thing? Is it a motivation thing? Which again, we could talk for the rest of this episode about motivation. It's my thing at the minute because coaches just get it wrong. So yeah, I do. Like I said, there's no right or wrong. I know loads of great coaches. There's great coaches inside of the Amplifier that don't use before and afters. I do think a lot of people put their flag in the sand of being like, I'm not using before and afters, almost like it's a virtue signaling, I'm better than the people that do kind of thing. And then something else that I said that I do think, and this might come across quite harsh again as somebody that loves coaches and helps coaches, I also think that a lot of people do the whole, I don't share before and afters, because they haven't got any. Yeah. Because they're struggling to get results with their clients. And I appreciate how that sounds, but there's a difference between not being able to post before and afters and choosing not to post before and afters.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I think a lot of it will vary person to person. And
Yeah.
you quite rightly said, whether it's coaching, whether it's fat loss in general, there is no right or wrong way to do things. There is, the mantra that I always use with my clients is, the best diet for any one individual is the one you can stick to and enjoy. And it's the same principle that applies from a business perspective. The best way to market yourself as a coach is the way that you feel like you can be authentically yourself, that you can stick to and that you can enjoy being. If you
100%,
if you feel like you're creating content for the sake of creating content for reasons that don't inspire you, that don't really align with what you're trying to achieve, then that's probably, like you said, a reflection where you need to kind of look inwardly and kind of review, am I doing this for the right reason? And again, when people post before and afters, it is a great way of showing and demonstrating as a coach that you can get results. It's, I guess from my own personal perspective, it's in the early days of coaching, you're quite right. You don't have lots of before and afters to use. So it's kind of like you see other people posting them because they've been in the game for a few years and they've got lots of photos to use. And when you're new in the game, you're kind of like, well, I don't have that. So I can either use somebody else's or I don't use them at all. And for me, I think because I started in that position where I, a few months in, you've got maybe a couple of before and after photos. I sort of foraged down a route of my style of content, and it's just never ended up being something that's hugely relevant. There are places like on my landing pages where you see before and afters. I think when you're at that point of trying to close a sale, being able to demonstrate what you can do is important. Testimonials, little snippets of what people have said, that kind of stuff. You'll find that on my landing pages. But in terms of my actual social media content, I guess I stay away from it. And for me, my content sort of demonstrates my ability to help through how I put my information across. And again, I would love to know your take on this, actually, from a coaching mentor perspective, as well as a coach to the end client perspective, because I've got a much bigger following on TikTok, and I feel like people on TikTok are a lot more savage at times. You get a lot more trolls on TikTok. So I get quite a lot of comments from people because I don't post content with my top off. I get a lot of comments from people suggesting that I'm not in good enough shape to give advice. And I always retort with a similar phrase along the lines of, I let my content do the talking rather than my body. And my ability to get myself lean is not a reflection of my ability to help others. But again, I'm intrigued because one of the best talks from IFS that so obviously Mike Chadwick's was great. Dan Osmond's was exceptional in terms of your body. It doesn't need to be your business card from that perspective. So I'd be really keen to get your perception on that, both from a working with end clients perspective, but also a coach mentor perspective, how you perceive that sort of, I guess, pressure that is still there, where people like to see, obviously it's similar to the before and afters, but they like to see coaches in shape as a reflection of their ability to help.
So I mean, I stay away from TikTok, mate. I created a TikTok a while ago when I first started doing what I'm doing. So 2023 now. I posted like 3 things on it, and I was like, I just can't be arsed. But I have heard that it's like the Wild West, right? There's people just
it's brilliant. All of my business comes through TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, my content does much better on TikTok. I'm like 20k followers on TikTok, and Instagram I've been set around 3k for like 4 years. So they're like worlds apart, but people have less of a filter on TikTok. Massively.
I've heard, mate, and I'm like, I do regularly, like, I know the stats of, like, going off on a bit of a tangent, the whole 7-4-11. So Google did this set of research where the average buyer online will consume 7 hours worth of content across. They will have 11 touch points with the whoever they're purchasing from. This is not just services, this is just in general, and 4 different platforms. And I'm like, right, well, I've currently got Spotify, and I've currently got Instagram, and I've currently got an email list. And I know that it would probably increase my chances long term to go on TikTok, but I'm just like, I'm just not doing it, man. I'm just not doing it. So the body is the business card thing. Dan's talk was great as well. I've got very, very, I don't know where I sit. I don't know which side of the fence I sit on because I can see it from both sides. Okay. So I do think you should talk to Sophia about this, but I'm going to give Sophia a shout.
Yeah.
She'd be great to have on the podcast.
Yeah, she was on, so she was episode 6, I think.
Oh, amazing.
So hers is going out in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I don't know if you talk to her about it. I don't know if what we're going to say is going to disagree, but I talk to Sophia regularly about this. So I don't think that this whole narrative of your body is your business card. Okay. I've only ever actually heard, first and foremost, I've only actually ever heard it said in the context of people saying your body doesn't have to be your business card. I've never actually heard anybody say the phrase your body is your business card.
Yeah.
I find that quite interesting. Do I think that your ability to get yourself in shape is a reflection of your ability to get others in shape? Absolutely fucking not. Bear in mind, when I started coaching, I was still 120 kilos. And I was churning out. I initially started coaching for a different company. It wasn't on my own. It was like a part-time thing. And I got taught the ways, I got taught the methods, and I was churning out results. Again, we were just body transformation, left, right, and center. I was still like plus 100 kilos, never seen a single ab, never mind about 6. Yeah. So I'm living proof that you don't need to be in shape to be able to get other people in shape. Absolutely not. What I do believe is that you should be leading by example for your clients. I do believe your clients want to see what is achievable. I do believe that a good coach should be it should be aspirational. I should look at a coach if I'm working with. I'll use a completely different lens. Paul Mort, right? I've worked with Paul Mort since 2021. I'm still working with Paul Mort. I'm in his highest level of mentoring. I get one-to-one mentoring from him. I still see Paul as somebody that I aspire to be because of the things that I'm working on Paul with are things like business, my own personal mindset, and my own, I guess, lifestyle. Like Paul goes on holiday 4, 5, 6, 7 times a year, takes his family every single time. He's a massive family man and a massive business owner. He's still the person that I look to. If Paul decided to wrap all of that up, would I still see Paul as the person that I need that could help me to get where I needed to get? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not, because he's not doing it anymore. So the same thing applies, I think, to this whole body is your business card narrative. When I initially started to lose all the weight, I wanted somebody that I looked at and I could see. And I think this thing about content's interesting because I think if somebody's really living in alignment with their content, even through a screen, you can fucking feel it. Like you can watch somebody's content and go, yeah, sick. Or you can watch somebody's content and go, full of shit. And I think you can feel it. So back when I was losing all the weight the first time round before the surgery, I sought out a coach that, first and foremost, most importantly, had a lot of results, like we've already covered. Second of all, was living a lifestyle like I wanted to live. And then third of all, it was just fucking funny. Like I just liked him as a person. And they were the deciding factors. Then after the surgery, and I'd gone through some fairly heavy shit, I then worked with Anna from ET PhD on my relationship with food. The reason that I worked with Anna is A, because I know Anna and Amelia's authority and I know that they can get the job done. But then B, I know Anna personally and I see her relationship with food and how she is around food. And I'm like, right, I want that. So it wasn't because she was quote unquote in shape, obviously. It's because she had and was doing and living the thing that I wanted. So I don't think you need to be shredded. Absolutely not. I do think you need to be further ahead than your clients. And all I can speak, putting it back on myself, is after I went from 152 kilos at my heaviest down to 82 kilos at my lightest. 82 was not healthy. My friends, after I'd gained the weight back again, called me Make-A-Wish kid. Like, they didn't tell me it to my face, but that's how I looked. Yeah. I was like, go on, bear in mind, I couldn't train because of my heart. I was really, really, really lean. Did that make me a better coach? No. Did it give me an added advantage of having lost 72 kilos to be able to relate to my clients and say, I get it, have a bit more empathy. I know how shit this is. This is what I went through. This is how I dealt with it. Did it give me an added bow to my string? Yes. What I also think, and this is something that me and Sophia spoke about, is I'm not for 1 second saying your body is your business card and you need to be in shape. I don't believe that whatsoever. But we also have to look at, I think James Smith talks about it in terms of like survivorship bias, right?
Mm.
So if we look at the people that have got successful coaching businesses versus people that don't, the majority are in decent shape. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be, but could you name me 5 really, whatever you deem success to be, really successful coaches that are in shape? I reckon pretty easily. Could you name me 5 really good, successful coaches that are conventionally, categorically not in shape? Maybe, but it'd be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
So I'm again, me coaching overweight. Not saying you have to be, but we also have to be able to look at things objectively. Now,
Yeah.
when me and Sophia spoke about this, she made a very good point of that. We all know that the stat around is it 80% of coaches don't make it out of year 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said to her, I was like, I wonder of the 20% that do, I wonder how many are quote unquote, whatever this means. I still don't know what this word means, in shape versus not in shape. She raised a very good point and said, well, maybe the ones that don't reach that 2-year mark because of the pressure of feeling like they need to be in shape. And I'm like, okay, if that's the case, should they be coaching in the first place? And again, me as somebody that loves coaches, I know how this can come across, but I do think, again, it's a really fascinating topic. So I guess to summarize the last 10 minutes of ranting, I don't think you need to be, but I do think that people, speaking from personal experience and the people that I work with, are looking for somebody that is living whatever they say they're living, whether that's fat loss, relationship with food, strength and conditioning, powerlifting. Like you would never go to a weak powerlifting coach.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the key thing there, if you sort of strip it right back, in my opinion, that makes a successful coach is the ability to relate and have empathy with the people you're trying to coach.
For sure. Yeah.
So for me, the reason why I work the way that I do is because of my previous experiences. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, really struggled to put on size, worked with PTs, got given questionable advice, never really got results, ended up becoming really overweight due to a series of injuries, tried to do the whole like prep for physique competitions, found that just ruined my body dysmorphia and my relationship with food, caused me more issues than it solved. And that, for me, that accumulation of experiences where I tried lots of different things and had varying levels of success and looked great at different times, less good at other times, all right at some times, but never really enjoyed what I was doing, became the foundation for, well, I want to help people that are everyday people who are sick of trying to live like they're a physique athlete when it doesn't fit their lifestyle. So I think having the ability to empathize and understand the challenges of the people you want to help is key. And that's where the body is your business card. It's less the body, it's more the lifestyle, like you said. If you live and breathe how you want to work and help people, that will translate, that will come across in your content, it will come across with how you work with people. I think it's a really interesting point that you raised, because it's like 80 or 90% of PT quit within the first 2 years of business. And is that a pressure to look a certain way that they struggle to keep up with? Or is it because actually quite a lot of people get into being a PT and coaching because they just love fitness? Mm-hmm. They get up and they want to go to the gym. They like eating really well, whether it's the same meals every single day or whatever it is. That they find the dedication to the grind very easy. And is it a social pressure to look a particular way that takes a toll and they go, I can't keep up with this? Or is it a case of actually when people who just love a particular subject try and turn their hand to it, do they lack the empathy? Are they trying to help people that don't jump out of bed in the morning and don't go, I can't wait to go to the gym and have kids and jobs and a house to run and all of these other commitments? Do they lack the ability to relate to the people that they're working with, and that's why their business doesn't succeed? And I think it's something I've always wondered, because again, you maybe I'm tarring some people with the same brush unfairly, but I often find that the coaches that are the most shredded, who have typically sort of stepped on stage, who then think because they got ridiculously lean that they're going to be great coaches themselves, are typically work best with people that want to step on stage. And and general pop sort of coaching, trying to help people in the way that we do, perhaps behavior change, lifestyle change, and understanding some of the challenges that people would have, is where they typically struggle. And I often wonder whether that's it's probably a combination of everything. But again, I'm intrigued to know your thoughts on that side of things.
Yeah, I think sticking with this whole, like, I don't know if it's 80% or 90% or whatever, coaches don't make it out year two. I think
high.
Yeah, it's scarily high, and especially because me, again, loving coaching, there is so much potential in that 80% to be good coaches. But I think something that I find the fitness industry, not the entire fitness industry, but my echo chamber of the fitness industry, again, it's shifting now. It's really bad at talking about is money.
Yeah.
We all need to get paid. We all need to keep a roof over our heads and eat food, right? There's nothing that you can do about that. And one of the contributing factors has to be the reason why people don't make it out of whatever it is year two has to be that they can't afford to. They can't earn a living. They can't put a roof over their head. They can't keep paying for food. They can't do the things that they want to do. So they need to seek work elsewhere. I would imagine, and I know of people that are in that situation and have had to find part-time jobs.
Yeah.
Which then gives you less time to build your passion and build your business. And it's a slippery slope. But if we look at that, right, it's like, okay, people aren't being able to afford this lifestyle and being able to be, whether it's in-person, online coach, whatever, they're not paying the bills. There's something that just jumps out at me then while we're talking about it. There's also an interesting thing. It's like, well, okay, we know the stats. There have never been more people that need help. Never. Statistically. There have never been more people that are unhealthy, however you want to define it, overweight, however you want to define it. There have never been more people that need help, okay? So the amount of PTs and coaches staying in the business are fewer and fewer and fewer. The amount of people that need help are more and more and more. So it's not that there aren't people out there to help. The reason why these coaches that are leaving the industry aren't making the money, is it because the people that need the help are looking to people that are leaner? And I'm not saying I agree with that. Again, having been 130 odd kilos when I started coaching, I'm not saying I agree with it, just pointing out things that I'm noticing. So is it that they can't afford to pay the bills because all of these extra people that need help are looking to fucking Johnny who lives in his mum's spare room and drives a Corsa and lives and breathes the gym, rightfully or wrongly? Interesting. What I also think as
again,
well,
I guess on that point, it could be one of two ways. It could be that they look typically to those who are in better shape, and therefore if you're not in as good shape, maybe statistically less likely to win business. Or does it come back to that original, the original question in terms of, is it more a case of people don't know how to market themselves to resonate with those that they want to help best?
I would say no. I would say a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Yeah. Back to your question about the people that have stepped on stage, working well with people that step on stage. I completely agree again. And I think it's because for multiple reasons, right from content and marketing through to sales, through to actually delivering the coaching for that person, they get it.
Yeah.
They absolutely get it, and everything aligns. I think one of my main issues at the minute is people that have stepped on the stage and are incredible at getting people in incredible shape without the, I guess, aftercare, the identity change, the behavior change, that side of things. I've got a bit of a gripe with that at the minute, particularly here we go, pitchforks are coming out now. I can't get my head around people that do prep coaching and quote unquote lifestyle coaching. Like, you know, you see bodybuilders and they've got, oh, I've got my prep clients and they're my photo shoot clients, they're my competition clients, they're my whatever. And then I've also got lifestyle clients. And then I'm like, okay, what's the difference? And they're like, I'm just a little bit nicer to my lifestyle clients. I'm like, so they still get a meal plan? Yeah. So they still get a training plan? Yeah. So they still get your weekly voice note? Yeah. So there's no difference. No, I'm just a little bit nicer. So I do think now, and one of my big, I guess one of my big issues that I'm trying to portray and overcome at the minute is what the majority of the fitness industry class as coaching isn't actually coaching.
Yeah.
So writing somebody a plan, regardless of how good or bespoke that plan is, isn't actually classified as coaching. That's instructing. You're giving people instructions.
Yeah.
Making adjustments to that plan on a weekly basis, by definition, still isn't coaching.
Yeah.
The coaching comes in the behavior change side of things. The coaching comes in asking good questions when you're talking to people. You can't coach somebody through a voice note. And this is what a lot of people are like, really get the backs up. I had a couple of conversations at IFS after my talk, which was entirely on this subject of what coaching is and isn't. Yeah. I had a couple of people come after me and like, this is how I run my business, and I have 40 clients, and they only get 5 minutes. They get a 5-minute voice note once a week, and I, me being me, refusing to back down, will look people in the eye and go, okay, that's cool, that's great, but you're not coaching. Like, you're not a coach.
Yeah,
you're calling yourself a coach, but you're not doing any coaching. And I'm not saying that's a terrible thing. What I don't like is coaches that call themselves coaches that don't do any coaching. Like, a long time ago, before I'd successfully got the weight off and kept it off, I signed up to a quote unquote coach. I got given a plan and I stuck to it. And it was like a month, whatever they call it, reset. And I lost, like, bear in mind I was heavy, so it was easy to come off. I lost like 11 kilos in a month. Like, fucking flew off me. And I managed to maintain that for a while. Obviously, it was quite unsustainable. So I'm not saying that these transformation quote unquote coaches that are delivering a service like that, I'm not saying there's no place in the industry for them, because there absolutely fucking is. Yep. People want to get in sick shape for holidays. People want to get in sick shape for competitions, for photo shoots, for whatever. Sound. But don't tell people that you're going to help them with the mindset, because you're fucking not. Like, your one question in your check-in form that says, how was your mindset this week?
Yeah.
does not mean you can say that you're a mindset coach.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, it's not that there's it's not a right or wrong way of doing things. Yeah, again, for the coaches that are a lot more prescriptive and do meal plans and give really structured training plans and make the little adjustments and stuff and do the 5-minute check-in voice note or message or however they want to do it, like, that's a completely valid way of running your business. And if you're getting people results and people are seeing value and they're happy to pay you, like, you've got a successful business.
Yeah.
But again, I completely agree. Whenever I do a consultation call with people, I would, and I'm going through what they get. I'm like, look, you're going to get a training plan. I'm going to calculate your calories and your macros. I'm like, but this isn't groundbreaking stuff. That's what you would expect from anyone who's within the industry. I'm like, the reason why you're paying me the money is because every single week you've got as much WhatsApp support as you could possibly need about anything. It's not just, oh, I had a good session today, or I felt a bit weaker today. It's all these things have happened to me at work. My partner's a twat, the dog shit on the floor, and this is how I'm feeling, and this is how I want to react. What do I do? Yeah. And I'm there to rationalize, put it into perspective, and help you come to a decision you're happy with.
Yeah.
The check-in call every week. Yeah, we're going to look at your training. We're going to look at your food. We're going to look at your progress, because that's a fundamental of working with any personal trainer out there. But the majority of the time we're going to spend on a call is looking at how you physically feel, how you mentally feel, what's been going on, so that we can unpick stuff. I mean, I've got clients who I speak to every week and we check in, and the majority of the conversation doesn't even really touch on exercise a great deal. Like, we talk about it, but the majority of what we talk through is breaking down how they're perceiving their progress and what we're going to do and what actionable steps we can take for the following week to get a 1% improvement on what they're doing in general with their behaviors and their relationship with food and their perception of what they need to do.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's a big difference. I'm not sat here trying to make out that I'm the best coach in the world, because I think you're anytime you think you're the best at anything, you open yourself up for complacency and therefore failure. So I am acutely aware there's probably lots that I don't know and lots still to learn. I've been in the industry for like 6 years, but I would never consider myself an out and out expert. But at the same time, I pride myself on the fact that whenever I'm dealing with people, it's a conversation, it's understanding what's going on, and it's just helping them to view things differently is a fundamental aspect to how I work, which is why I would always happily call myself a coach and not a PT, because for me it's not here's a training plan, here's a meal plan, let's speak once a week and just make sure that you've followed both.
It is really difficult. And again, I found it difficult when I was running Body and Brain. That you're right, of course we have to speak about. So I do understand that sometimes when I get into it, I'm like, I'm not speaking badly of people that offer that as a service. Like I said, there are people out there that need that service. It's fucking sick what you are doing. Particularly if you get somebody that is a certain personality type and they're like, I need to lose this weight. My health is I'm sacrificing my health currently. Just tell me what to fucking do and I'll go and do it. Sick. Genuinely mint. Like, that is life-changing work.
Yeah.
But the stuff that you've just said, yes, the food and the exercise, the lifestyle, the steps, the sleep is always going to be one pillar of it. Of course it is, because they're the fastest ways to physiologically make somebody feel different, make them feel better, improve their health. We know that. It's all this stuff that you just said, like something that I picked out there. You said check-in call.
Yeah.
So like, my stance on it is, and I've had conversations with coaches and other business mentors. I say other business mentor. I'm not a mentor. Absolutely not. I help people with coaching. I don't care. I do care about business, but I'm not a business mentor. But I've had conversations. I've spoke at mentors events. They bring me in to talk about coaching. And we always seem to get on this conversation of like, okay, so if you're saying that the real coaching is done in conversation, I still don't think you can really coach somebody properly on WhatsApp. I think it's got to be on the phone, on a Zoom, I think, or in person. I think they're your kind of limits, because that's what coaching is at its essence. It's like you said, it's a conversation, it's a collaborative process, it's back and forth, it's empowerment, and then it's picking a thing and then cracking on with it. That's what it is, really simplified. And there's a lot of people out there that are like, if I'm meant to do calls with my clients each week, how am I meant to scale? And I'm like, maybe you're not. Like, maybe it's not about having 150 clients.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, or maybe it is, but stay in your lane. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you are doing it, maybe it is about having a call each week with your clients and working with fewer clients, but dedicating more time to those clients, and you scale by charging more money or whatever. Like there are different ways to do things, but people get so defensive and on the back foot when you go, you're not actually doing any coaching, and like, oh, well, I've got coach in my name. I'm like, right, okay. I put astronaut in my name. Does that make me fucking like, come on, Buzz Aldrin, chill out. So yeah, it is an interesting. I realized that if I was willing to change my stance on this, the amplifier would be further ahead than it is, but I'm just not willing to.
Yeah, and but again, I think that's so important in business. And again, there is a big caveat to this, but I think it's so important in business to be strong-willed and to not deviate from the course. Like, when you're passionate about something, the only way to achieve success is to double down on the stuff that you are passionate about. I genuinely believe that. I know when I first started, I swear a lot in my content. I use the word shit cunt all the time. I mean, I put a book out this year, which is sat behind me on the shelf.
Oh, I saw it on you moved and I saw it on the bookshelf.
Yeah, it's called How to Stop Being a Fat Cunt. Now, if I listen to the advice of my wife, of my mum, of my in-laws when I first started, and I was swearing in all my content, I probably wouldn't be anywhere near where I am. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have still been a good coach. I still would have attracted clients and stuff 100%. But I don't think I would have enjoyed what I was doing anywhere near as much. And therefore, that would reflect in the work that I'm doing, because I would constantly feel exactly how I felt in the corporate world, that I was having to sort of censor myself and be a polished version of myself that wasn't really accurate. Again, with the podcast, my other half was like, I think it was just after Christmas, because I think the 2.5 weeks leading up to Christmas, I was doing like a podcast a day, and she was like, "You're drinking so much," and I'm like, "It's great, isn't it?" And we got to like January, and I was like, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't like book that many in each week." And she was like, "Well, you don't always have to like put rum in your mojito. Like, you could make an alcohol-free one." And I'm like, no, because then it's not authentic, is it? If I'm bringing people onto the mojito movement and I'm sat there with a glorified lime and soda, like, I'm not doing myself I'm doing myself a disservice there.
I'm going to say though, I've finished this and it was great. Like this, the monster with the lime and the mint in it was pretty good.
Mate, I mean, it'll probably be what I have after this, because that mojito went down very nicely, and there's plenty of lime and mint left in that glass.
Yeah, but you've just raised a really interesting point now about. I talk about this a lot, about knowing who you are, like, and knowing what you do stand for, and also knowing what you don't want to be known for. I think it's really important. And we go back to what we're talking about, like coaches that struggle with attracting clients and the marketing. And I do see a lot. And again, I think a lot of coaches still get into the industry because, like you said, and you are right, they're passionate about exercise. They've seen the benefits of it in their own life. They like eating well and they like living a healthy lifestyle. But there's so many other elements to it that come into that need to be taken into account when you're trying to grow a business, like marketing, like sales, all of these things.
Yeah,
it's a lot. And I see some people that struggle to get in front of the camera because they set a camera up and then the phone voice will come out and then they'll talk differently. And then, like you said, they'll stop swearing and stuff like that. And I'm like, I get that it's not easy, but knowing who you are and being okay with it, the good and the bad is really, really important. Because can you imagine, right? Could you imagine if you'd have listened to that advice and you didn't swear in your marketing and you weren't yourself and you weren't like quite edgy and abrasive sometimes, which is a good thing. You'd got clients into the business and then you'd have been this loudmouth fucking swearing shit cunt this, how to not be a fat cunt that. Like there'd be such a disconnect in the people that you'd brought in by not being yourself to then who you were as a person, and they'd be like, hold on, where's Paul gone?
Yeah. Yeah, and to be fair, there's probably a small part of people join because they obviously see my content, they like how I talk, and then we'll be doing check-ins and stuff, and I don't say cunt all the time, surprisingly, and they're probably like, I didn't know you were this polite, and I thought you were going to be more of an arsehole. And I'm like, well, I can be if you need me to be, but again, I think you're exactly right. I think if you're not authentically yourself, you don't attract the people you actually want to work with. And I think again falls back into why 80-90% of people quit within the first 2 years. When you're a new PT, you pretty much say yes to anyone that wants to give you money. 100%. And I get it,
mate. I just, on that note, I did that, and the first 11 clients that I took on, I basically had to let them all dwindle out and start again. So I'm not sat here like I never did this. I did that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's still times. So my background, I had six-figure salary working in the corporate world, fucking hating life.
What were you doing?
Selling software to the NHS and public sector.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Call center software. So you're real exciting stuff. And yeah, it just got to a point where I was like, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And at first I was like, and I've spoken about it so many times on episodes. And at first I thought it was the company I was at. I had a few runnings with senior management where I'd overachieved on targets and they didn't want to pay full commission. And I thought, oh, maybe I just don't want to be here. So I went and worked for a competitor, and 18 months in was like, oh, I also don't want to be here. So
maybe it's not the job. Maybe it's oh no, maybe it's not the company. Maybe it's the job. Yeah,
basically. And so I ended up in a position where it's kind of like push or jump. And I opted to jump. I was like, fuck it, I'm going all in on the coaching side of things. And don't get me wrong, when you leave a very, very high paid job to go fully self-employed, and at the time I was charging 30 quid a month, I think, thinking that I was going to get hundreds of clients in, but working exactly the same as I do now. Not realizing that if you've got 300 clients, whilst that's great money, it's like I will never sleep again. But I fell into that trap of you just accept anyone that wants to work with you. And as I started to put my prices up and I was a bit more expensive, like I was always a bit like, oh, okay, it's 100 quid a month now, it's 150 now. Are people going to want to pay it? And if somebody was like, yep, I'll join, I'd be like, brilliant, get them in, get the money. And I mean, I now have two phones, one of which I never use, on the basis that I had a client that was a fucking nightmare. And the minute I was on WhatsApp and it said online, it could be a Sunday night, texting my mates, a bit of banter about whatever it is, I get a message from this client, and it was relentless. I totaled it up on a Friday once, and I'd had like 140 messages in it by like 4 p.m. and that's not an exaggeration. So I messaged, I was like, look, this is getting a bit ridiculous. This is a daily occurrence. Like, yes, I'm here to help, but you're asking the same things all the time, and this is just like you're paying for a coach, not for a friend, in the nicest way possible. And I then received another 75 messages in the next 3 hours apologizing for the volume of messages. So I was like, right, I'm getting a second phone. But the point to this is to kind of bring it full circle is when you are new in the industry, there is that need to make money. So you do take people on and you do sacrifice a little bit about who you are to make a bit of money. But I think what's important in those instances is you probably did it. I know I did it. Is you recognize it's a short-term pain for a long-term gain. As long as you don't sacrifice who you actually are. Yeah. Working occasionally with people that aren't the greatest fit, just so that you can keep a roof over your head, is a means to an end. What I think the mistake quite a lot of new coaches make is they perhaps have an idea of how they want to work with people, who they want to work with, but because there's not an influx of the ideal client coming through, they change too much about who they are to reflect who they're working with in that moment. Yeah. And then you become less authentic. You become less of an appeal to people because you get lost in the noise. And you end up becoming one of these twats that takes your top off and puts meat and eggs on a chopping board and goes, "Oh my god, you just need to eat fats the whole time," and before you know it, you've lost all your credibility. Unless, of course, you're Eddie Abu and somehow you gain 2.5 million followers by chatting shit.
Do you know who's responsible for that?
No.
Online coaches for fucking sharing it.
Like, well, yeah.
Me and Oshima are laughing about this. I'm like, I would attribute, if I had to pluck a stat out of my arsehole, I would attribute 75% of Eddie Abu's following to online coaches.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, and I've seen it with business mentors as well, they'll hang each other out to dry, but all they're doing in that is going, look how ridiculous this is. But what normal people are then doing is they're clicking on his page and they're looking at his shit and they're going, he's funny, or actually I resonate with that. Not forgetting that normal people, they're not as educated. I do believe they are more educated these days, but online coaches go, look how ridiculous this twat is. He's got however many millions of followers he has from somewhere. Like, you sharing it is actually boosting his engagement. I just want to go back.
So it's my fault.
About like the start of, mate, I shared him as well. I suppose I'm not a coach anymore. I'm not like a coach, and I call them muggles and wizards. So like wizards are the coaches and muggles are normal people. So I don't coach muggles anymore. I coach wizards. But going back to what you said about at the start, like my first 11 clients, I was working with somebody else. I'd been put in this situation. I was running the group coaching program really, really well, loving it. I didn't have any one-to-one clients. Outside of when I first started, I took 10 people that I knew on completely for free, just so I could start getting a bit of experience of, actually, I need to figure out how I'm going to deliver this service and stuff like that. Out of those 10, I got 7 really good results, and carried on working with them. And then it got to the stage where the business owner of the business had fucked off on holiday for a week, and he'd forgot to turn his Calendly booking link off. So he got these 11 calls in, and he basically said, right, I've got these 11. I'd never done a sales call ever. I've got these 11 calls in. I'm not doing them. I'm on holiday. You might as well take them. Here's my Zoom login link. So I was already on the back foot. I was logging into Zoom. They were thinking that they were getting on a call with somebody else. I was popping up, having to explain what had happened. And then in my head, I was like, right, this is an extra, I don't know, 1,500 quid a month if I get all these 11 clients on board. Let's fucking go. And every single one of them, I promised the world. Yeah. They were all different sorts of people. I'd promised everything. I'll move mountain. I'll do this. I'll do that. You'll get this. We'll do that. You'll achieve this. And completely set the wrong expectation. And like I said, I closed every single one of them. I was like, fucking hell, Wolf of Wall Street over here. Yeah. 11 clients, first 11 clients, 100% get in. 2 to 3 months later, I was losing my head. Because obviously they were like, hold on, you're only going to charge me this much for what you've just promised me. That's a no-brainer. So they'd all jumped in. I had not been able to deliver on what I'd said, and had to, like I said, let them all dwindle out and pretty much start again. I was like, right, okay, there's a lesson. So then the next time when I started to build clients up, still didn't have this idea of this, like a niche. And I don't know how many people that are listening to this are going to be people that are just getting started in the industry. But I would say for the first 6 months, maybe a little bit longer of me coaching, and they have a niche. I would work with anybody. The difference was I now knew how to set the expectation. So I would take literally anybody. And actually, I think that's one of the things that led to me being such a good coach, is that I'd had all this experience really, really quickly. Again, I was fortunate I was working for a company that had constant leads incoming, constant calls incoming. So I still wasn't having to find these people, but I worked with such a wide range of people. It enabled me to get a load of experience really quickly. It enabled me to get really good results with varying people. But most importantly, it showed me who I didn't want to work with.
Yeah.
So like, I get a little bit of stick out of this. The first 2, my niche, I actually did it the other way around. I was like, and we all get into this industry, hopefully, because we want to help people. And I was that person. Who do you want to work with? Everybody. I just want to help people. Sick. Right. That's nice in theory. In practice, a little bit different. So I had maybe 30 clients, all completely different, all varying people, different, like male and female, different age ranges, different things that they wanted to work on, self-employed, business owners, employed, parents, non-pet, like the lot. And I was like, right, okay. Very quickly, I realized I wasn't the right coach for menopausal women. And I was like, okay, so now the first almost like thing that I don't want to work with is menopausal women. And it's not It's just because I can't relate to them. I can't connect to them. I really struggle with understanding what they're going through, like we were speaking about earlier. My approach, how I've been on this, is how I've been forever. So like sometimes I would speak to them and it wouldn't come across right, and I completely get that. I was like, right, sweet, done. Then it was the next thing to go with people that had basically had a kid in the last year. And I was like, because nothing, absolutely, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Of course, I can't wait to have a family. But the way that we are coaching, some of the things were out of my control because I was working for another business. But actually, this is not good for people that can't make themselves a priority for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
So I did it the other way around, is I started to refine who I wanted to work with, and I never changed who I was. And by default, my personality type started to attract a certain personality type. And that was essentially you hear all this demographic, psychographic, blah, 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 blah. I worked with people who needed to lose weight, who had a poor relationship with food, and what didn't mind the way that I communicated. Full stop. That was it. So people complicate this idea of like, oh, I'm going to get started in the industry and I'm going to work with fucking 45 to 55-year-old men who row up the Thames. I'm like, what? Like, or I'm going to work with 30-year-old women who were born under Mercury, right? I'm like, what? Like,
just it got brought up in the by James in one of his sort of business mentorship talks at IFS. Somebody said that, can't remember exactly the specifics of what they wanted to do, but ultimately they wanted to work with athletes, but it wasn't just athletes, it was a specific subset of athletes. And James was like, cool, so you've already narrowed it down to like 1% of the population, but you're now narrowing it down to about 3% of the entire population of athletes. And he's like, so you've got about 4 people worldwide you want to work with, how much are you going to charge? And they're like, oh, I was thinking like £100 a month. It's like, great, so you've got potential earnings of like 400 quid a month. And again, people make that mistake. They feel like they've got to niche down, because the more specific, the more likely you are to speak directly to your avatar that you want to work with. And I'm like, I just want to work with people that are okay with the fact I'm going to say cunt a lot, and that are just sick of being put into that same bullshit fucking hamster wheel of here's a training plan, here's a meal plan, speak to you next week. Like, if you want to actually take it seriously, you want to have somebody who's got your back, that you can have a chat with, that's not going to drag you over the coals if you're a normal human being and you go and get fucking shit-faced on a Friday and eat like a twat. Like, my job isn't to parent you, isn't to make you feel like shit and beat you up for it. My job is to help you be able to do that, but in a controlled enough way that you can still get to where you want to get to.
And it keeps coming back to that, knowing who you are. Like, again, I know I've already brought him up on this call, Paul, my coach, like my mentor, whatever you want to call it. He has only ever marketed to self-employed men. That's it. He works with business owners, men. That's his niche. And people come, I talk to people a lot inside the Amplifier and just in general of like, oh, this is my niche, and I want to work with them. And I'm like, okay, but what if you get somebody that comes to you that falls outside of that niche? Are you still going to work with them? They're like, no. I'm like, right, let me tell you this story. So Paul, he's got, I don't know, somewhere close to 450 clients at the minute. He only markets to self-employed men. I think his niche, if you asked him, is something like married businessmen whose wives hate them, or something ridiculous like that, right? That's what he does. He helps people get out their own way. When I started working with him, I wasn't a married businessman whose wife hated me, but I still worked with him because his personality type and who he was attracted me as a person. That's all he markets to. He's got like 100 female clients, but that's all he markets to. So the reason that he's done that is because of who he is and the way that he communicates and the sorts of issues that he raises aren't specific to men, but that allows him to get more targeted with his marketing. If it attracts females, sound is going to work with them. Of course, Maria, my wife's in his female program. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's just, if you know who you are, the right people will come if you find the right way to portray that.
And I think that's really important. And again, we're all potential slaves to the algorithm. I alluded to it at the start. Obviously, my TikTok does really good. People seem to like me for me on TikTok. Instagram, it's a little bit slow and painful at times, and it makes me think, right, what do I need to do to get this fucking shit cunt algorithm to move in my favor? But one thing I haven't done is completely change. I still put the same content out there because, again, you never know which post is going to go viral. You're only ever one post away from things going fucking mental. So you know, I have that blind faith in it. But again, it's that blind faith and that trust in knowing who you are that ultimately is going to put you in a position where you're going to attract the people you want to work with. And if you're constantly trying to please people, and whether not even just in business, just in life in general, if you're constantly trying to please other people, the only person that suffers is yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm acutely conscious of the time, but so before we kind of round off, you've alluded to it a few times, obviously spoke about it right at the start, obviously the amplifier. Now, so your journey yourself in terms of becoming a coach, you're now obviously you've moved into the realm of coaching coaches. So talk me through, I think it's a good place to round off, sort of like, again, how that decision came about and what your vision is for the amplifier and for that aspect over over the next couple of years.
So how it came about, basically, like we spoke about, the service that I was delivering wasn't just calories, training plan. The food and the training was very much matched to the client. Like some clients got meal plans, some clients got calories, some clients we did intuitive eating. So it was very much matched to the person based on what they needed at the time. It's almost like a graduated process. Same with the training. The majority of my clients, admittedly, never went to the gym because, again, they were the type of people that didn't. Some of them, like, throughout their journey entered the gym and started to get into it. Some of them were already training, some of them weren't, some of them were training at home, whatever. Like, the reason that I was able to do that is that 70 kilos that I lost the first time round, I did without any exercise. I couldn't train at all because my heart would have blown up. So again, that enabled me, being me and portraying that, to get these people in. So a lot of the change, a lot of the results that I was getting, a lot of coaches say this, right? I was working on mindset. I was like, no, I was really working on mindset. Like, I wasn't just asking them how the mindset was. Like, rate your mindset this week on a scale of 1 to 10. Shut up. Like, I was developing these, I call them tools because that's what's in the amplifier now. I was developing these tools and worksheets and techniques and guinea pigging things on myself, first and foremost, of, right, okay, I'm struggling with this thing. I have got a decent knowledge of coaching and asking questions. So what can I put together that is essentially the same as me asking people questions, but they're filling it in on a worksheet? Sometimes it's just like progressive questions. Sometimes there's like models to fill in. I don't know if I've got a few of them out there, like the grow models in the free group and that sort of stuff. So I started to come up with all of these different models, and I'm like, right, these are really fucking working. And actually, the number one reason, this is obvious, the number one reason why people don't achieve the result they set out to in the first place, provided that the quote unquote plan you gave them or you created with them was achievable for them in the first place, the number one reason why people don't achieve the results is their adherence. That's it. Like, to really simplify it. So I was like, right, okay, so I've now worked with enough people. I've been through this myself. I realize when people are starting to slip. I realize, again, because the type of client that I work with all were very similar in the problems that they face, not in their demographic and that sort of stuff. What it enabled me to do is get a really crystal clear picture on, right, okay, these are the 20 to 25 reasons why my clients fall off the wagon. Okay, so now a lot of people would go, yeah, I know those 25 things. And I'm like, right, what have you done about it? Well, nothing. That's not my stance. So I was like, if I know these things, I need to be proactive and try and create things for each of these things. So I created this set of tools. Again, it's such a shit analogy, this toolbox of questions and worksheets and models and all that sort of stuff that I knew would help. And I guinea pigged it on myself. Then I guinea pigged it on my clients. And like I said, I was then getting all of these results, churning out results with people that I was really proud of my before and afters, because the people in the befores, you wouldn't see them in other people's before and afters.
Yeah.
I was really, really proud of them. And people started to notice, and they were like, how the fuck are you doing that? Like, those are the people that I was working with were the people that had been failed by other coaches, that other coaches, I believe, wouldn't have been able to get a result with, because it wasn't the thing that enabled my clients to get the result, wasn't the training and the nutrition. And that's what the other coaches were doing. So it came about because I had people quite literally asking me what I was doing. Like, how are you running your check? What questions have you got in your check-ins? I'm like, fuck all to do with the check-ins. Like, okay, what are you asking them on your monthly calls? I'm like, I don't do monthly calls. Like, so people were starting to kind of like ask me. And then I created it initially as a bit of a side project. Like, the first one was dirt cheap, 6 weeks long. And I was like, do you know what? Enough people have asked me. I've got enough interest now. I'm going to chuck this thing up. I'm going to charge 500 quid for it. If I get 20 people in buzzing, isn't it? There's a holiday sound.
Yeah.
And that was literally it. And I'd marketed this thing. I sold this thing. I'd not created this thing yet. I'd got all the tools from my own business, but I'd not got any of the slides. I'd not got any of the presentations. I'd got nothing apart from this toolbox full of tools that I knew worked. I sold this thing and it sold out in like 2 days. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Now I've got to create it. And basically I got like 2 weeks into it. Bear in mind, it was only 6 weeks long. I got 2 weeks into delivering this thing to 20 coaches. I actually oversold it because I forgot to turn the stripe card off. So there's 22 coaches. I was delivering this thing and I was 2 weeks in and I was like, this is it. Like, this is fucking sick. I was having to scrabble to pull together slides and find all the research that I knew and put together these presentations. And I just loved it. And quite literally at the time, and I've still got the text saved because it was like one of the scariest things I've ever done. At the time, I had 32 coaching clients paying me a decent amount of money. My recurring was between 7,500 and 8,000 pounds a month. And I got this one thing and I just text all my clients saying, I'm cancelling all your payments. I'm not coaching you anymore. So I just like $7.5 grand down the toilet, just like that. I literally said to him, you know that I'm doing this thing. You've seen me posting about in my content. It's lighting me on fire. I've got the ability to impact more people. I believe that if you're working with a coach, their client should be their priority. And as of right now, it pains me to say you are not my priority. This thing is my priority. So I'm going to cancel your payment. I'm going to work with you for the rest of the month. I will make sure that you're set up to continue this on your own, or I will help you find a coach that I think will work well with you. Obviously, I've got access to hundreds of coaches through what I was doing already. So quite a few of my clients I referred to other coaches. Quite a few of them just like went it on their own, and I pulled the plug on my coaching. And I was like, because I need to be able to go balls deep on this thing, and I don't ever want my clients to become an afterthought. So I just made the decision that way, and then it just grew and grew and grew. So yeah, I fucking love it, man. Like, obviously it's now changed drastically. So it used to be done in intakes. It used to be 20 coaches in intake, 6 weeks, live delivery. I kept studying and I kept adding to my knowledge. It's gone from a 6 week curriculum to a 6 month curriculum. Like, that's how much I've been like rabbit holing myself, loving this shit. And that's what it is now. It's a 6 month course. Every single week there's a tool delivered with how to apply it to your own life and to your clients' lives, and things about stuff like how to build the perfect onboarding system, perfect check-in process. And it's just turned into this absolute monster. The reason I love it so much, and the reason that I made the changes is like, when I was coaching, you'll know this because we met at an event. When I was coaching, it's such a shit, lonely job. It's not a shit job, but it's really, really lonely. Yeah. We sit in our box rooms, or maybe you in this bar, wherever you are, and we sit behind our laptops and we struggle with, especially if your partner, I'm very lucky, my wife is also self-employed, works from home, but you don't see anybody. You don't speak to anybody, because talking to somebody through Zoom or talking to a Loom on a feedback, it's not the same. Yeah. So the Amplify was doing really well, and then I actually took it off the market, and I was like, there's something missing. I don't know what it is. And I realized that my favorite bit of it, at the end of each 6 week intake, I was doing an in-person day. Yeah. Getting all the coaches together in a room, and I was like, this is it. This is the bit. This is the thing that needs to be the main feature, is the community, supportive, bringing coaches together and shit like that. So now I've took it off. It's now no longer done on an intake basis. People can join at any point. You join, you start the course. It's drip fed a week at a time, so it doesn't matter where you're in the course. We have 2 weekly calls a month where everybody jumps on together, and the first call is about your client issues. So if your clients are struggling with anything, we'll figure it out together. The second call is about your issues. If you're struggling with anything, we'll figure it out together. And then I've really turned the dial up on the events now, getting people together and getting speakers in. And the next one's in London. We've got Big Ali speaking. Like, I'm fucking buzzing. It's going to be sick.
Amazing.
So the plan for it is to take over the world.
Mate, I love it. Absolutely.
Essentially, get as many coaches as possible through the Amplifier, because, and again, at first, it was just a side project. And the feedback that I've had from people about how it's changing, ultimately, you're not going to be able to see it. I've got like a mission statement, right?
Yeah.
With 5 points to it. And I've got it printed off and it's stuck there right on my wall. And the number one things about impacting, like the number one thing in the mission statement is we have an impact on both coaches directly and their clients indirectly. Because like I said, I've been that person that's had shit coaching. I genuinely believe if coaches do the amplifier, they'll have everything that they need to know to be able to change people's lives. So, and it's for 2018 me. That was 150 kilos, feeling like I was broken because a coach had given me a training plan and a meal plan and told me to just stick to it, or I need to try harder. So that's why. So it's I love it, man. I absolutely love it.
But I think it's fucking awesome. And again, it's really refreshing because when my TikTok started to really take off, I toyed with the idea of writing a course for other coaches that wanted to grow on TikTok and build your business on TikTok. And I started building it out and sort of mapping it out a little bit. And luckily I didn't get too far into it, and because it coincided with the massive explosion we saw on social media of every failed online coach saying that they can help you earn 10k or 20k or 30k a month from online coaching. And I started looking at it, and my feed was just full of all of these people I've never heard of, and you look at their pages and it's like 200 followers here or 1,000 followers there, and like, let me show you how I got to 20 grand a month as an online coach. And I'm like, if you're doing 20 grand a month as an online coach, you're not going to swap that for a 300 pound like coaching mentorship. And I was like,
my favorite thing is when people slide into my DMs with like that, I'm just like, let's just have a look on Company's House. Let's just have a look.
And that for me was the light bulb moment to go, do you know what, this isn't the direction that I want to take my business in. Like I'm still 100% all in on wanting to help individuals. And I'm like, do you know what, there's too much noise from too many people who can't demonstrate that they have ever delivered what they're selling you the dream of. I was like, I'm not going down that route. But what I've loved about the amplifier from your perspective, it's not business coaching like everyone else promises. It's not, I'm going to get you 10,000 followers on Instagram. It's not, I'm going to get you 10 grand a month from coaching. It's genuinely helping people to become better coaches. And the byproduct of being a good coach is you have a more successful business.
That's it. And I'm not going to, that's why I made a point earlier and being like, I'm not a business mentor, because if you want somebody to teach you how to send better DMs or close more sales, I'm not your guy. But there is definitely an indirect impact that the amplifier has on coaches, is that they're keeping the clients for longer, they're getting better results, they're increasing the prices. So I'm not saying that the amplifier won't help you make more money, but it's not the focus. What I want, if I could, let me think about this. If I could like put this into one sentence, it'd be something like, I want to help you build the business that you love running. Yeah. And we all got into coaching because we want to coach people. Nobody got into coaching to send DMs. Nobody even got into coaching, and I know that a lot of people like it. Yours is very good. Nobody got into coaching to create reels. Yeah, we got into coaching to help people. So I'm like, I admittedly, when I look back at Body and Brain, I wasn't great at DMs. I wasn't great at content. I wasn't great at. I was decent at sales, but the rest of that side of it, the stuff that the business mentors are packaging up and selling. But I had 52 clients at one point, and every single client knew somebody else in the business. I had 52 clients based on referral because I was fucking sick at what I was doing. So I'm like, so when all these business mentors are packaging up, like you just said, hit your first 10,000 followers or hit your first 10k launch or whatever, I'm like, why don't you just build your business to a very good stage that I did by just doing the thing that you actually like doing and not the thing that you hate doing? Like, I appreciate that you need both. Like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not ignorant to that fact. But this whole, go on.
I think to pull it full circle, it's the same in terms of how we work with our clients. We work with them on mindset, lifestyle, behavior change, because we know that when you tackle those things, the byproduct is you're going to get the fat loss that you're after. You're going to see the change in your aesthetics that you want, because we're going to help you create the environment for that to happen. And yes, you can just go straight after the results, but you tend to end up doing a lot of things that perhaps you don't want to do or don't enjoy doing, that you're not going to stick to doing. So results are short-lived, and business is very much the same. If you forage a path down lots of things that you don't enjoy doing, yes, you might be able to get yourself to 10 grand months, but if you've built a business that's dependent on doing certain actions that you don't want to do to make the money, you're never going to be able to move away from that.
Yeah, I 100% agree, mate. And again, this sell high ticket, charge up front. It's like, well, sound like if you're selling high ticket and you're charging up front and your client's leaving every 4 months, you've got to be able to repeat that thing every single month to keep your business alive. Why would you
not only that, on the high ticket side of things, you've got to be relatively smart of money. I could never do high ticket where people pay me for 3 or 6 months coaching up front, because I'll spend it straight away. I'm like, great, somebody just paid me $4,000, go and spend it straight away, and be like, oh yeah, well, I can't pay my bills now. It would never work for me. I deliberately charge monthly on the basis that my bills are monthly, so it's it's a happy marriage.
Yeah, mate, I get it, and I think the thing that not riles me up, because I do get it. Like I said, the money is a taboo subject, and coaches aren't great at talking about money. But I think the thing that seems to have been lost a lot at the moment with some of the industry and some of the mentorship side of things, not all of it, because there are great mentors out there. I know quite a few, but it's that everyone's talking about 10K months, 15K months, 20K months, and my thing is that's not 20K. That's X amount of human beings. Like, we've dehumanized it. It's like, earn 10K a month. And I'm like, fuck that. Help 40 people a month.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. That for me, that's still the thing. And that's like where a lot of the industry is moving in that direction. And I get it. We all want, every good coach should be rewarded handsomely, because you are giving people the best tool that you can. And that's the ability to change their own lives. I firmly believe that. Like, you are empowering people on a daily basis to change their own lives, and there's not much more important than that. There's not much more profound than that. So you should be paid well, but it's not 10K a month. It's, well, what is it? What would the maths be if you're charging 250 quid a month? Everyone's like, earn 10K a month. I'm like, no, help 40 people.
Yeah.
Remember that 10K is human beings that also have lives and challenges, and you're meant to be helping.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's really important, and probably a really good place to round things off, to be honest with you, because again, it's that stark reminder that if you focus on the wrong things, you attract the wrong results. And if you're only ever focused on the amount of money that you're making, I can guarantee the likelihood of having people stick around for a long period of time that you can then use their transformations, you can get their testimonials from, will dwindle. Because if you're only focused on 10K months, all of your effort goes into business generation. And then what happens? You've acquired a fuckload of business, a load of people that you're working with that you can't service, because your business is dependent on continuing to keep the people coming in the top end. So yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's a great place to round things off. So before we disappear, firstly, thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing. We probably could have carried on for at least another hour.
I'll be honest, I've really enjoyed this. If you want me back, I'll come back, mate. I've really enjoyed it,
mate. 100%. I would more than happily welcome you back. And there's so much we can get into that we probably barely scratched the surface of. So we'll definitely get you back on. Try and get it in person so I can make you a mojito, and you can have your socks blown off by how ridiculously strong I make them.
2 years and 1 month sober, mate, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Well, I'll get some White Monster in.
Yeah, man, absolutely. To be fair, you can get decent non-alcoholic rum these days, so we'll do it. We'll do it.
100%. But before we disappear, again, for anyone listening, if they're not sure where to find you, what's your handles?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Instagram. It's at Lewis Potts Official, POTTS. That's about it. If you are a coach, I run a free community for coaches. Message me on Instagram and I'll just send you a link for it. There you go. There's the pitch.
Amazing, mate. It's been awesome. Obviously, thank you for everyone listening. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. But definitely go and check Lewis out, particularly if you are a coach or if you want to get into coaching. Go and give this guy a follow. He's gonna help you out big time. And he does, like you said, a lot of stuff for free as well, if you are new to the business and not in a position to invest in mentorship and guidance. But mate, it's been great. I will no doubt catch up with you soon, and we will see you all next week on the next episode.